Now let me welcome on to the Mountain West Insider Podcast, Richard Pitino. And you knew we had to get Richard Pitino on because all Jeff Goodman wants to do when we talk to Richard Pitino is talk about his dad. And we have the Pitino Bowl coming up this weekend. We'll talk plenty about that.
I can do it now. No. Now, Richard, you cannot yell at me for talking about your dad and stories and whatever, because we have to today.
Well, all the questions are so original. So it's just like you guys really knock it out of the park every time with these original questions. So I can't wait to see what you come up with.
Did you see how I tried to get into a conversation about New Mexico's 3-0? We got Donovan Dent, 25 points, 10 assists. Nelly Jr. Joseph averaging 18 and 12. You beat UCLA. And I can't even get through the intro without Goodman interrupting me to talk about.
Oh, this is great. He froze.
Pitino.
This is phenomenal. I can take over the interview.
Great. All right. So UCLA, you guys played him in I think it was in Las Vegas, right? Playing him in Las Vegas, neutral site game. Top 30 team on KenPom, top 25 team in America, and you guys made a statement on a Friday night. Donovan Dent looked terrific in that game on the possessions where he actually threw the ball to his own team. What do you take away from a game like that and a win like that?
Obviously UCLA is very, very talented now. We played them at the right time early because they have a lot of new guys. And, the portal is great and all, but I think a lot of teams are not going to be finished products this early in the season. So I think that UCLA will get better and better as the year goes on. And they will be a player. But I think our returnees stepped up in a big way. Donovan was really good. Nelly was terrific. Mustafa Amzil is playing well. And True Washington, I think, had 5 steals. So, we played really, really hard, played great defense. I wasn't sure what to think of our team, honestly. And that one kind of, obviously got me encouraged because we won, but just the competitiveness of that group was phenomenal because although we have Donovan and Nelly and Mustafa and those guys back, we lost some really important players, whether it's Jalen House, Jamal Mashburn Jr., and then JT Toppin. So it was great to kind of notch one of those early wins and certainly get our guys excited.
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me watching that game, Richard, was you guys are so much bigger. Like I knew it heading into the season, but then to actually go out there and see it where, last season you guys had 3 guards that were maybe 6'1" and on a good day, right? Once they had shoes on with socks on their tiptoes. And it's just the wings are bigger. Nelly Jr. Joseph looks massive out there. Just it's a different kind of roster that you've built here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't disparage the 3 guards last year because we won 26 games or whatever it was, one team. So we were good, but the Clemson game was an eye opener. Now Clemson was good, went to an Elite 8, but they just overpowered us at every position. I had a feeling Mashburn would leave. Obviously House graduated, and then Toppin was a big 4, but we really set out like, okay, portal wise, we've got to get bigger at the 2 and the 3, just because we were not able to compete. Although we did beat San Diego State and Boise and some of those teams, like they were bigger than us. So we set out to do it. And we'll see. I mean, there's moments, certainly it looks better defensively, but we were pretty dynamic offensively at times last year, and we'll probably miss that a little bit.
All right. What did you tell Donovan Dent after his 9 turnover performance against UCLA that, maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was like Aaron Katsuma, somebody else had to have gotten to him to go from 9 turnovers to 0 turnovers?
Well, if you ask Donovan whose fault it wasn't his fault. There's all the big guys dropping passes. I mean, honestly, he could argue that about 4 or 5 of them, our guys didn't catch him. He is such a good passer that I said during the UCLA game, like, guys, I don't want to run the same thing every time, but they need to stop him first in that ball screen to see. So there was some, Tiki, who we got from BYU, he dropped about 3 that he just was out of sorts a little bit. So really wasn't on Donovan as much. But I will say, I think he's the best passer in the country. I don't know. Maybe Nemhart from Gonzaga, I've watched a little bit, but I don't know who else is up with him. So, those guys, and he makes difficult passes. So those guys have got to be more ready. And I thought they were certainly last game.
It's like what's the saying with quarterbacks, right? He throws people open. He sees that they're open before they realize that they're open. It feels like, is there like an adjustment process to playing with a point guard like that?
Definitely. And I call him Aaron Rodgers. His disposition is like Aaron Rodgers, like when he was with the Packers.
I was going to say,
now, is that a compliment?
Not current
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers.
Packers, if you would listen, Packers. Aaron Rodgers used to walk around Lambeau, barely break a sweat, and just pitch that ball all over the place. Donovan is very, very similar. He makes some passes that you just don't even see. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness. He just has that ability. And he can also finish at the rim. So it's certainly is a skill that I didn't teach. I mean, he had that in high school, and it's really, really carried over. So guys have got to be ready because he sees the whole court.
Nelly Jr. Joseph, the development that he's had, is that part of just having him on campus for a summer and not having to worry about all the visa issues that he dealt with? Is that, there's more time and minutes and rebounds and opportunities available with JT Toppin not there? Like, what is his development and this offensive explosion that you've seen out of him?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say it's both of those things. First thing for sure, last year he got here October 25th. We had an exhibition game the next day, and I started him. And he went home for like a week, but he had all of his visa stuff cleared up. So he was here all spring, summer, and fall. So I think it's pretty much that simple. Now he does work. He's always been a worker. And then there is certainly an increased level of importance to get him the ball down low without JT. Like our fours are not huge low post guys. So he is definitely the guy there. He's in amazing shape. I mean, he's a physical specimen as well. So was in a little bit of foul trouble yesterday, but I think absolutely we're lucky, honestly. Like, I hate to tell him, but thank God he didn't enter the portal, because if he did, he would have had a lot of suitors, because a big guy with that experience, we're fortunate he stayed. And it's been really good.
Yeah, big guys can command a lot of money in the portal these days, as we saw with the one big guy who did leave you, JT Toppin. We know what to expect now, I think, out of those two, Donovan and Nelly. Who's kind of that third guy that needs to emerge, Richard? Is there going to be a third guy, do you think, or is it just going to be maybe a different guy? I know CJ played well against UCLA.
I mean, I think True Washington and Mustafa Amzil would be the natural fits early in this process. Mustafa was sixth man of the year. He has the ability to make shots at that stretch four spot. True, he could get you 5-6 steals in a game. He's really, really active. He can get to the rim. CJ Nolan, I think, was 9 for 9 from the foul line versus UCLA. We signed him with that veteran guard, to replace. Like, Mashburn's a great scorer, so it's hard to necessarily replace him, but we needed an older guard. He would certainly be that. So, you want to rely on your returners. There's 4 guys that played a lot last year, but we need, like a CJ certainly can step up off the bench and provide some really good minutes.
One of the things, we did this whole media day tour, right? I think we talked to, in total, it was 142 head coaches. And I feel like everywhere we went, one of the things that we heard over and over again, in addition to we're going to play faster, yeah, we got transfers coming in, we got new faces, team chemistry, all that kind of stuff, was I want to have the best point guard and the best 5-man in the conference. And I don't know if I'm ready to definitively say you have the best point guard and the best 5-man in the Mountain West, but you have one of the best point guards and one of the best 5-men in the Mountain West. Is that something that you try to do? Is that something that you can plan for, or is it just kind of the way that it worked out this season?
Yeah, probably the way it worked out, honestly. Now, I mean, we recruited Donovan out of high school. We've been able to retain him several times, so people have tried to recruit him off our team. Not blaming anybody. Everybody's doing it. And Nelly the same way. So I think it was retention for sure. But I also think those guys were smart enough to know, like, I've got a starting spot here. I don't need to mess with this. And there's a lot of guys out there who've done that. You guys know Mountain West, like we're this weird league. I don't believe we're a mid-major league, but I could see you arguing we're not a high major league, right? We're like right in between, but they have a high major experience. Like Donovan Dent played in front of almost 12,000 people on a Tuesday night last night. He gets a standing ovation when he walks out. Nelly is the same way. So I think those two guys valued the experience. They understood everything they want, they can get here. But I think, retention right now it's so very important because everybody's throwing feelers out at all those guys. And they appreciate it. And not to say the ones that don't are bad people, but I think they do see it more so than a lot of other young people.
Just to follow up on that with Donovan, I think you can look at the performance that he had against UCLA and think about where he's from and think about maybe who didn't recruit him coming out of high school. And you can see it felt like there was a little extra motivation there just looking from the outside, right? And when you are a program where you're finding some of these guys that maybe are overlooked within their own city or within their own state, buy into them, invest in them, help coach them up. Like when you get that kind of loyalty in return, like that feels like something special. It's a little bit unique in college basketball in 2024.
It is. I mean, I think what we got to do is, you guys talk about it all the time. Like when coaches win, you guys always talk about the bigger jobs, not you guys, but the media and everybody. And I think we got to look at the players the same way. And I'm not saying I've had a million opportunities by any means, but I've had a couple other opportunities since I have been here that I appreciate this more since I was out of Minnesota for 8 years. And now I understand, like, not that I hated Minnesota. I loved my time in Minnesota, but hard job. But New Mexico is a really good job in this league. And I think Donovan understands, like, it's not that it's a small pond, but like he is a big fish in this situation. He knows the style of play is perfect for him. He knows he's going to play a lot. I think he trusts me and my vision. Nelly is the same way. So that doesn't mean it's always going to work, right? Money is always going to be, even with coaches. But I think we got to look at it all the same. My biggest thing, like a JT Toppin or a Mashburn or whatever, just help us win now. If you want to move on, cool. The guys that piss me off are the ones that don't even help you win, and they take advantage of your program and then they leave. But those guys that left, and we didn't have a lot of defections, but the guys that did, like Mashburn gave me 4 years, and it was 4 great years. He was loyal to me in Minnesota, came and beat in New Mexico, helped rebuild this program. So, but we do need to celebrate the ones that stay, and maybe that'll kind of, pull at the heartstrings a little bit more. But it's a business like anything else.
All right, let's get to it. Sunday, the 4th matchup between you guys. First two, Dad kicked your ass when you're at Minnesota. Last one, you beat him, New Mexico, Iona. This one might be the most evenly I think this is a fair fight between you guys. He's at St. John's. You're in New Mexico. You got a good team. I want to know too, like, will Jill be there for this one? Because she wasn't there when I was at the game last year. She was too nervous to come to these games. Your wife, will she go to this game?
She was. So no, that was, you're talking about Iona was 2 years ago. Was that 2 years ago?
2 years
I would
ago.
say the Iona one was the equivalent of a fair fight too. You know what I mean? FIU was the first one. I was just taking the check and moving on, right? Minnesota was a weird one. They were really good. They might have won the national championship that year. And we were early in the process. That game was really hot. It was in Puerto Rico on like the Coast Guard base. Like that was just kind of brutal. Iona was a pretty good game. We had a big lead. They came back. And then this game, I mean, St. John's is really, really good. Yes, Jill will be there. My whole family's coming. As in my immediate family. And majority of our family will be out there. This game was a little bit different, honestly. Like, I know the whole me versus my dad is a fun little storyline, but honestly, I did it because it's hard to schedule at New Mexico. So I knew I could get him to agree to a game, because this is when last year, towards the end of the year, we had like 24, 25 wins, and they were like, oh, you may not be in the tournament. And I'm like, this is inconceivable to me. and kind of evaluating it, we needed, I think, high major teams on our schedule. So now we've got UCLA, St. John's, Arizona State, and then either SMU or USC, and then VCU, as well as New Mexico State. So names that pop off the paper a little bit more. And honestly, I just wanted to do it for our fans. And like they said, we're going to have over 500 fans fly up from New Mexico to go to the game, which is amazing. So, and our players as well. So certainly not as juicy as what you guys want to hear, but honestly more about just being able to bring my team to Madison Square Garden. And if we can, I mean, St. John's, it's a funny story. I went to the Yankee game 4, the game before they just crapped the bed. And I fly in there. My dad's got tickets, and I land in LaGuardia, and I'm like, I don't even think I had texted him. I just forgot. And I'm like, where am I going? Am I going in the city? Am I meeting you in the Bronx? Wherever. He's like, come to St. John's. I'm like, I don't want to go to your work. I'm at work all the time. And I go to St. John's, and they're practicing. And I'm like, care if I sit in here? Like, and I'm not like taking notes or anything, but very, very talented team. Roster is loaded with size, skill, toughness. So it'll be a tough game, but it's kind of a nothing to lose opportunity for our team.
It's a quad one road game against a top, like, what are they? I think are they ranked right now?
Yeah, they're top. They were 22 or something like that. But
yeah, they're ranked. I'm looking at it right now. They're 15th on KenPom. So like yeah, it's a free hit. If you win, this is the kind of thing that you can say, oh, you just beat UCLA on a neutral and you won at St. John's. Like, well, let's start getting ready for an at-large big and figuring out. And if you lose, like, you're on the road at Madison Square Garden across the country playing a 9 a.m. local time tip.
Right.
Free hit.
Right. Yeah.
So wait, is this is one of the best gifts he can give you, right? He's giving you the opportunity. Give me the greatest gift your dad has ever given you over the course of your lifetime. What is the best present he's ever given you?
So I had a birthday in September, and it's the most comical. I don't know where it is. It might be in the trash, but he got me this really, really puffy tan vest with matching tan sweat bottoms. And I'm like, I live in a warm weather climate. I'm never wearing these pants ever again. So I called my mom immediately and said, where is the gift receipt? I got to return this thing, get him his money back. No, I don't know what the best gift you ever gave me was. I mean, I think the Yankee game was a lot of fun. That wasn't really a gift. That was more like I told him, you're bringing me. He has done a lot for me. And you joking about it, but like, we are lucky he agreed to do this. And it means a lot to our program.
So we've seen him the last couple of games after, while he heads to the press conference, he has a beverage with him. I think
how about that?
Like one of them, it looked like it might have been like a dirty martini or something like that. I think one of them, my guess was a Jack and Ginger, but I couldn't really tell.
Jameson and Ginger.
There you go. If you were to head to a press conference with a post-game beverage, what would that beverage be?
I like to have a nice Miller Lite. That would be my first one. And then either that or like a Tito's and soda would probably be what I would do, a refreshing drink. I normally, I don't always drink after games. I've tried to honestly have less cocktails during the season than maybe in the past, but I would probably say a nice cold Miller Lite. I had one with Jeff in my office last year, actually. Not to get in trouble. I don't have an AD right now, so I can't get in trouble. But I can only imagine if I walked up to a press conference with a Jameson and Ginger, what people would do to me. But
a triple. He said the bartender poured him a triple.
I'm sure it was. It's amazing.
Your dad has different rules. There's different rules.
But you know what? He should have different rules. He's 72, and he's won a lot. So I'm all good with it.
And
he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit anymore either.
It's funny. Like Goodman's out here saying like, oh yeah, he doesn't have any rules. Goodman lives his life as if he doesn't have any rules. Like don't let him fool you, Richard. Like I've spent enough time around this guy. He thinks that he is Rick Pitino right now. He believes that that's who he is in the podcast world.
Believing is half the battle, isn't it?
That's right. So, hey, the rest of the family, I don't know if I've ever asked you this in the previous games, your brothers, like where do they sit? Who do they root for? What are they wearing? Like, how does this work?
The only one that I know is rooting for me is my mom. And my mom's like, you're my blood. He's not my blood. Other than that, Honestly, I don't think any of the brothers or my sister care. Like my oldest brother, Mike, not even coming. My brother, Chris, is not coming. Ryan lives in New York, and my sister's going to fly up. But I think they're all kind of past all that. But my mom will absolutely root for me.
Here's what you
He's
need to do.
unapologetic about it too.
That's
Here's,
great.
here's what you need to do. You need to get one of those. You ever seen those like uniforms where it's like half of one team and then half of the other? Well, you
Yeah,
need to get
house
one that's
divided.
like half New Mexico and half St. John's. But on the New Mexico side, have that be where the PIT is in Pitino for the name on the back of the jersey. So New Mexico, the Pit, and on the other
Right.
side, have that be St. John's. That's what you need to do.
I like it. I like it. You know, it is. I'm glad we're playing it early because we have a group chat where we're constantly talking about our teams, this and that. And that part of it will be nice that it's over. But it will be fun. And I kind of think we're all kind of past like caring who wins or who loses. Like, I'm not going to the Hall of Fame, and I'm okay with that. So if I win this game, like, I'm not going to be a better coach than him. So that's fine.
I think it's fun, man. Like in your relationship with him, the fact that you guys do go back and forth like that, actually, like my daughter kind of does that with me as well. Like it's something, I don't know if you always had that when you were younger, or it evolved over time.
No, it evolved. Honestly, my dad, he has a lot of friends, which is really great, but he tends to have people who like to tell him what he likes to hear. And he needs somebody around him to be like, check him a little bit. And not that he's like, because he's really not this arrogant. You would think he is, but he's really not. He's a pretty regular guy. But it probably started, honestly, when I worked for him, where it was just like, hey, man, like, and that was a balance for sure. But it's like, I got to tell you, I think you're wrong here, respectfully. You know, everyone else is telling you you're right. So, yeah, I mean, in the most respectful way, like all of us kids constantly crap on him, like most Northeast kids do to their father, in a good way. Like so many of his tweets that he sends out were like,
Oh, you kill him. You kill him for those tweets.
But yeah, that part of it is fun. And I do think too, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I'm not a big, like, I don't love attention by any means, but it's a fun early game. It's on national TV. Yeah. It's a cool storyline. And I do think all of college basketball needs to do more things like this. And it's a pain in the butt at times. Not a huge pain, but it's annoying. But how cool would it be and I'm not speaking for the Hurley brothers, but Bobby versus Danny, me versus my dad. Like, I just think
Scott versus Bryce, Archie versus Sean. How about we have a day of it? How cool would that be?
Yeah, it would be cool. And I think, not to say I'm trying to change college basketball by any means, but the more exposure we can bring to these type of games in the non-conference is pretty cool.
Yep. I agree. Fun stuff like this, when you can cut through the noise on a football Sunday in November, is never going to be a bad thing for basketball. Listen, Richard, always good to see you. Best of luck on Sunday. Best of luck the rest of the season.
What's the wager? Before we let you go, is there a wager on the board here for this game between you and Dad? No.
You know, the trash talk really hasn't begun. Now, I know his players.
Let's start it now. Wait. Let's start it right now. Now.
I can assure you his players hate me, because ever since we beat UCLA, I'm sure all he's talked about during timeouts when they played, who'd they play last game? Quinnipiac, saying you can't beat New Mexico playing like. So I'm sure all those players are going to walk out of the locker room and hate all of us, because he's probably started motivating. And he does that every year with whoever that early non-conference opponent is. But we have not really begun it yet. I'm going to let him go through Wagner first, and then we can ramp this up tomorrow.
We'll drop this tomorrow to let them know that
there you go.
That you are here and you're ready to go. Listen, it's always fun to catch up with you, man. Best of luck this season, and hopefully you keep on winning so we can get you back on here down the road.
You got it. Appreciate it.
Man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Richard.